Good evening and good night, everyone. Welcome back to the Orlando Strong Broadcast Network stream. Thank you for everyone from Orlando and everywhere else who tuned in to week 3 of Better Together. Today, you got to hear from three very strong, very influential Black women in Illinois, part of the CGTI program. Um, Black Women Matter. Today, we are going to introduce somebody who is very influential in Orlando, very, very important person in my life. Her name is MJ, that way, Marissa J. White Quarles. Check her on Google because she got her own website. We're also being joined by Jay Wise, John, Antoine, and later on, Miles, brother Miles. Brian, as you know, is here. Uh, Handling the ones and
Productions,
twos,
production.
but yes.
His name is
let the
production for the
let the
live.
let the let the credits roll. My team good. We don't really need a mascot, so what we're going to talk about today is continue the talk about Black women mattering. Continue uh, to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement and what is continuing to be seen. We're going to get into the Black Lives Matter mural as it was painted in Orlando outside of Lake Eola this past week and talk about just the way the media likes to twist things. We're also going to talk about events happening this weekend. I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but I do want to introduce MJ, the new face to the stream. I want you guys to
Welcome
just
MJ.
be.
Welcome MJ.
I want you guys to just open your eyes, your hearts, and your ears to what she has to say. She's going to speak transparently about being a Black woman, about her experiences up to this point. A month ago, and just let you guys in on what Black Lives Matter in Orlando means to her and has meant. So, MJ, take the floor. Come
Thank
on,
you.
Queen.
My king, first
You
and
bomb
foremost,
bait.
thank you so much. Bombay. Thank you so much for having me. I know I look a little messy right now. I'm a catfish, so nobody stop. I'll
The
have to
circle.
stop.
The what? The circle.
um, but yeah, so first and foremost, like I said, thank you for having me on here. Some people know, some people don't, but I am from East Tennessee, which is complete polar opposite of Orlando, Florida. I have been living here for 4 years now. I moved here by myself when I was 19. Um, so I've been here about 4 years and some change. And um, although it is polar opposites from each other, growing up in the country, y'all, like the country, population of Black people being very small. Um, I attended a private school at some point. I was the only Black woman there, the only Black person there as a whole. Being treated differently, obviously, we've all been through that. Those of us who are minorities, um, but being a Black woman, geez, it's like for me, it's weird to actually sit down and talk about it, especially on a platform like this where we've been going strong, Orlando strong, hell. Um,
Absolutely.
and it's 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 like taking over a steering wheel right now. Okay, um, being in the
Yeah.
driver's seat of a conversation that, to me, this dialogue we don't typically have. Um, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I was frustrated throughout the past few weeks of Black Lives Matter movement being, though it's been here for a while, being
Hmm.
the center of attention, because even attending the protest, I wasn't in the mix. I actually um, brought waters and supplies and etc. For the protesters as well as those who were homeless downtown. And so I was present, but I wasn't in the mix like that. And just hearing people say his name, say his name, say his name. And that's not to discredit George Floyd or any other Black man who has been a victim of police brutality or white brutality. I don't know if that's a term, but I'm going to start saying it because police aren't the only people out here killing Black folks.
That part.
That are so police and white brutality. But Say Her Name was actually it was a hashtag created by a Black woman for Black women that were this was back with a few years ago that became a thing. Unfortunately, I can't remember the woman's name off the top of my head who created that hashtag, but it was for the lack of advocacy for Black women who were losing their lives. I believe this came about around the time of Sandra Bland, which also got pushed under the rug.
Sure did.
And every time I even think of Sandra Bland and her story, I'm just filled with so much sorrow. But at the protest, people kept saying, "Say his name, say his name." And one of the people with me says, "Say her name." So then, of course, people start saying Breonna Taylor. But the volume, the magnitude shifted because there were so many people. I'm looking around and they're like, Breonna Taylor. They couldn't say her name. And so I just so much anger was fueled inside of me that had already been feeling, obviously for what had been taking place, but also because of the lack of attention on Black women. So then I shouted, "Say my name," because it could be me. And we all know this.
Absolutely.
But I said, "Say my name, say her name," and pointed to another Black woman, "Say her name," and pointed to another Black woman, because, you know, it just, we got quiet.
Yeah.
It shifted, you know, the energy shifted, but it made it all that real. I know some people have created the dialogue of what are we doing to protect our Black women in our own community. And as a dark-skinned woman, and let me say this again, as a dark-skinned woman, I don't see much protection. You and I, Cedric, you my guy, you my go-to. I'm gonna call
Hello.
You. And I know that you have me and I have you
Every time.
But
hands first.
Prior to our friendship, I don't know that many Black men that I've been able to count on.
And it's ain't coming this way, other than my mama and my sisters.
Love. And so I've right now in this moment, like, speaking about being a Black woman, let me try to gear that back. It's hard. You know, it's one thing because we're looked at as these strong people, okay? Oh, strong, you're so strong, you're this, you're that, you're blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's okay to not be strong. I tell everyone, I go to therapy every day, every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Even if I'm having a good Wednesday, I'm going to therapy because I'm not strong enough a lot of days. You know, I deal with things just like anybody else, if not more. And that, again, that's not to discredit anybody else's story or their pain, but being a Black woman is just, it's difficult when people are looking at you to be the backbone of so many different structures. So I don't know if that is the answer to your question about a fraction of my story as a Black woman, but
that was definitely relevant to what's happening recently. I was there with you through all of that, and we had some tough moments to get through together, but, you know, we just had to regain our focus, and it was unfortunate that they were happening to you, but you're so valid. You're so right. The chat is, you know, going off on saying so, and like it's just so hard that, like, the only, you know, Black women we put on a pedestal is our Black moms, just because, like, she is the staple of the Black household growing up, and our sisters. And so, like, for the longest time, like, that's all I saw was you, either my mom or my sister, and it was incestual, and, like, that's just kind of, you know, where I took it for so long. And then to be able to, you know, expand and grow and, like, and look at women like well, they don't all have to be your sister. They could all be, respected for, just being Black women, or the way I see you, like you are me. Like if like we say the power of two all the time, just because we finish each other's sentences, and just like you have the same struggles I do, but the world hates you, and they hate me too, but like they hate you for a different reason. And it's just like they want to be you so bad, whereas with us it's just like they're afraid of us, or we intimidate them. And it's so like not the same hatred, but it's just, it's like the level of hatred is one and the same. Like and so you have men who mistreat Black women, whether they're white or Black, and you have women who mistreat Black women, whether they're white or Black. And so it's so important to hear y'all's story too. Like everything you said is valid. Like, say my name. Like we need to celebrate all of us. Black lives matter while we're alive too. Like
while we're alive.
Black death matters, but Black lives matter. Like, and like it is not going. Don't say her name when she's dead. That goes on everybody. 43 people on Facebook right now. Like, hear it now. Like
Beyonce them told you, like they told you that back in the day. Say my name. Say my name.
Y'all thought it was a game. Then Jordan Peele had to switch
around you.
When no one is around you, you better say my name.
To chime in really quick,
absolutely,
because I love speaking about the Black woman, and Wise knows this, and it comes from this ideology. And forgive me, folk. Matter of fact, no, don't.
No. Speak your truth.
The Black woman is God.
Yes.
And when I say that,
always has been.
Let's put that into context. When I say the Black woman is God,
take it back.
We are talking about a being that walks this earth, that is responsible for every color on this earth. Is the only one that can produce every thing that's walking this earth.
I just got chills. Y'all felt that too.
There is a reason why our Black women are missing at a high rate. If you research Henrietta Lacks, you will then come to understand there is something about that specific species of woman. Right. And shout out to all my women.
Right.
But it is something about that specific species of woman.
They call it the Eve gene.
Come on now. Talk about it, Wise. I'm gonna throw it to you on the alley-oop in a minute.
No, go ahead.
No, they didn't say no white people in the Bible.
Listen, and when you say your word, the first thing you say is your mama. I love my dad to death, but when mama and daddy beefing, the child want to go with mama. There is something. I always love my mama. There's a reason why that is praised. And when we look at ancient Kemetic times and things of that sort, and I don't really want to pull them in too much, Wise, I don't know. But it is us feeding the queen. When you look at nature, there is no king ant. It's the queen ant. There is no king bee. It's the queen bee. The praying mantis kills himself for his woman. There is the Black widow is a woman. So
come on,
understand the power. And we have to understand the question you need to ask yourself is, why is the woman so demonized in that book?
Right.
There is a reason she is casted off as just a prostitute. So you're just telling me that she had a baby and that's just not a thing? That's not the biggest thing in the world?
Yes, right.
Like, that's not a thing? And it was minuscule, right? And so to wrap it up and throw it to someone else, man, I think it's so important that we have these conversations and we keep it together, because the reason why we feel or not feel, the reason why that Black women is ignored, right, is because, okay, we have to figure out how the Black man can say, well, I'm ignored too. We got to bring those together and understand it. It's the same thing. Right. We have to understand it's the same thing. And we have to understand that all these civil rights movements, these women was the head of these things, and so we have to understand that's where the true power lies, man. So I love having these conversations. I'm sorry I went off. But when we
Oh,
get
you
on the
you
topic-
have not even tipped the iceberg, Twan. JY,
Yeah.
please, we're not gonna have another episode without you on it. So say your
Nah.
piece right now.
Yeah.
Don't take no notes. Say it.
Piggyback off of what Twan was saying about, in the ancient times, how important the woman was. And I'm not sure if Brian could kind of pull up an image for me. So
production, man.
Yeah,
Production.
get production to pull up an image.
Pull up.
Offset.
His name is Sky, yo.
Say his name.
He's right. Say his name. Say his
Hey,
name.
Brian, Sky Lover is like
Say
his
his name, Twan.
name is Sky Lover, not Clover. Don't look him up.
Definitely.
Sky Lover, alias.
Yeah, and just going back into ancient times, if you ever see the image of Offset and Haru, and you see that that's the original image of the mother and child, right? And what you'll see is the child is sitting on the lap of the mother, right? So women in ancient times was very important. So there it is with the horns. Can you pull up the picture with the?
Me in the head. Why you gotta do this to me, Jay?
Yeah, you can pull that one up.
That boy's scholaring right now. He's scholaring.
You turn around and look at my mother Mary in the back. I'm like,
My mother, man.
I didn't see where that picture came from. Go ahead.
I'm freestyling right now, but if you could pull up the one where you see, well, that'll work. So where you see the image, which is commonly known today as, the mother and child, Jesus and Mary, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what predates it is Offset and Haru. And the image was very important because what it's also known as is the child and the throne. Why is the mother depicted and known as the throne? Because in a nation, which is the leader of the nation, is the son, the child, but the mother is the most important part of the nation, right? So just think of it, right? In ancient times, one of the great sayings is, if you wanted to destroy a nation, if you wanted to conquer a nation, you take the women.
Yes.
Now let me give you some more info, right?
Wow.
The first pirates were Europeans, right?
Uh-huh.
What did they call their treasure?
Booty.
Booty. What is something that men treasure in common times?
Booty.
Right? So when they would conquer a nation, they would take what? The booty.
Yeah.
The African woman. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So when we fast forward to current times, when we think about today, when we're talking about the black women being the most disrespected, being the least protected, it's sad. But for us to come out of that, black men need to be disciplined.
Okay.
Disciplined financially, disciplined sexually. I'm talking about even if you see a woman revealing herself, you have to discipline yourself enough to, it's okay to look. You can look and admire. Right? You can look and admire, but that doesn't mean you go push up on her, put your hands on her, and because you got to think about it. If it was your daughter, if it was your daughter, how would you feel?
Right.
You want the next man doing that to your child? No. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
All right, I hear our boy Miles is in.
Miles, what's up, King?
What up, Miles?
The man,
Straight
the myth,
off
the legend,
King.
the man, the
What's
myth.
going on?
What's
You look like Wakanda here, y'all. I don't know about y'all. Hold on, he ain't finna pull up.
I'm M'Baku. If it's Wakanda, I'm M'Baku. That's my dog right there.
I'll
Hold
take
on
your
one second.
argument.
I'm gonna get my other headphone real quick. Hold on.
Absolutely,
Now, Ted, can I chime in real quick on the
absolutely, John.
on what you guys were saying? Now, like for me, really, it's MJ, pleasure to meet you, John. Nice to meet you. Great to have your voice on here. I'm kind of piggybacking off of something that you said. And because like you guys said, we are in a state of emergency when it comes to our black women in the world. We're not just in America. I believe we're in a state of emergency when it comes to our black women in the world. So I want to ask MJ, and I want to ask Wise, Antoine. I see that you guys are very, very knowledgeable on the subject. Where do we start with black women in the community? And before I ask you where do we start with them, I want to know where did we lose them at? And then Jay, do you feel like we lost them when we as black men lost ourselves? Because you just make great points on saying things as in get ourselves right financially. As a young black man, okay, you have to understand when we talk about systematic racism, when we talk about the systematic breakdown of a black man, you understand what I'm saying? I believe that, we were robbed of that, especially my generation, and not only your generation. You know what I'm saying? We were robbed of that from the top. So I want to ask you guys, where do we start? MJ, as a young black man, how can I make myself whole? You know, I'm a young black divorced man. I got married early, and I felt like one of the biggest reasons why I got divorced so early is because I thought I knew what it was to be a man. I thought I knew what it was to be able to handle that. You know what I'm saying? And I went into a relationship, and I felt like I was breaking down my black woman more than I was building her up. You understand what I'm saying? So I want to ask you guys, like, literally, okay, I understand we're in a state of emergency when it comes to our black women, and yes, you guys said we intertwine when it comes to our black men, but where do we start? We're lost, and I'm admit that we're lost, and I want to be better, and I want to do better. So can you just like tell us like where do you think we can start at? And MJ, we can start with you, and then we can go down the line. And I'm taking notes, guys, because I really want to know.
MJ, right before you start, I also
want
to send a call to action to the black women in the chat on Facebook. Sky will put your comments and questions up, but my mom, I know you can speak from experience to help John's question get answered. So please, all black women in the chat. We are torn down by the ones we love the most. Okay, black woman. Definitely chime in. MJ, you go ahead, though. Start that off. Queen.
First of all, John, thank you so much for asking that question, as well as your sincerity. I can hear that in your voice. I can hear that you genuinely want to know, and your honesty and your transparency. It's not easy to be transparent and admit where we are wrong. It's not easy to admit that we need help, and especially from a man. I'm not a man, so I can't speak from a man's perspective, but looking at men that I value in my life, I know that a lot of them have been transparent with me to say it's so hard to tear down the wall and say, I need help. I think, and I could be wrong, but just from what I've noticed, I feel like where the disconnect came from black men and women goes back to slavery. Everything goes back to slavery. But the problem is because in slavery times, mind you, there were families. There was real black love there that was stripped away. Men were treated as animals. They were there to breed, essentially. They were taken from their families and they were placed elsewhere in another family, and so on and so on and so on. And then moving forward, where we lost ourselves, where we didn't know who each other were. Side note, for those who don't know, that's where the term bro, bruh, brother, my sister, that cousin, that's where that term comes from, because a lot of us don't know who is our family and who isn't. So that's where that comes from. But moving forward, there's a quote. I don't know who this man was. I want to say he was a Ku Klux Klan leader, or just maybe a white supremacist, that stated that one thing that you can't allow us as black people to do is become educated. Keep them uneducated. Right there, from slavery, because we did not become educated as a whole, we no longer, and I say we because this is a team. This is a group effort.
Right.
We no longer knew each other. It's like a fight for ourselves, and that's it. And I see that often now and today, where one of you mentioned this earlier, where a lot of Black men, it's like when Black women voice our hurt and our pain, it seems like there are a lot of Black men who are like, well, hold on, what about me? It's like, come on, like, hold on, man. Like,
all lives matter type of guys.
All Black labs.
You often with Black women saying, well, like, we're gonna let you have your platform. We know you're hurting. And I'm not speaking for all Black women, because I'm not, but from what I've seen, it's like we have to become educated on each other. We have to have what we're doing right now, which is open dialogue and having those conversations and being able to express to each other. But educate yourselves on Black women. And that's not just say, how do I phrase this? Educate yourself on the Black woman in terms of what we've done for history, what we've done, what we're currently doing.
Right.
Get familiarized with Black women in your community. Open that dialogue, because I feel like there's just such this hard shell that we both have as men and women in our community. And you have to also remember too, because there are some Black women who might be defensive when you want to create this dialogue. Because I'm not going to sit here and act like all Black women are going to be open to having those conversations. So, but don't let that hinder you from having those conversations. Keep pressing. You don't have to push her, but keep pressing the conversation, the dialogue, whether it be with that individual or the next. Because understanding our hurt and our pain as individuals, because everybody goes through something differently, but as a whole, on a larger scale, that's going to make all the difference when you can understand where we're coming from, where our pain is coming from. Because one of the biggest things for me personally is that, Cedric, you mentioned this earlier, everybody hates us is how it feels. And it's
everybody
like,
hates us
so bad, and I feel like there are so many different images that are pressed upon Black men to hate Black women. And they might not even understand why, because like we all said, we love our mamas. But when it comes to success, it's a different story. That's not discrediting anyone who's in an interracial relationship. I myself am in an interracial relationship. That's not discrediting anyone of a lighter skin tone, but that's what's in front of your face. When you're listening to music, they're talking about red bones, they're talking about light skins. When you're on Instagram, you're looking at lighter skin women, you're looking at women who have Black women features, and those things are in front of your face. So when you're looking at a Black woman, it's you don't really look at her as a person with feelings. You know what I mean? Someone that has emotions and has intelligence and has this beauty that everybody else is taken from.
Like it said in the episode today, MJ, you're pretty for a Black girl.
Right.
I know.
Somebody said that on the platform?
No, that was one of the speakers was telling their testimony. Yeah, you good, Twy? You good.
From Black men, I would date you if you weren't Black. From Black men.
MJ had said something I want to say something off of. Do you guys feel do we feel like as Black men, right? I feel like sometimes there's like a stigma on, and I don't just to pick up on like interracial relationships. Sometimes I feel like if a Black man gets with like a white woman, sometimes like people are so quick to like, you know what I mean? Oh, you leaving behind the Black power and the Black girl magic.
Yeah.
And sometimes vice versa, when the Black girl gets with the white boy, you know what I'm saying? Damn, sister, all these Black men out here, and you couldn't find you a deliverer. You're part of the problem. You part of the problem. You part of the salt in the water. And so
I've heard it more from the,
so how do we feel about that? Like, where do we go with that? MJ,
oh, go ahead, MJ. I'm sorry.
Oh, I've heard
that question was to MJ. I apologize.
No. It's broad. It's Juan. I want to hear your opinion on
it. Started everyone, but yeah.
Maybe it's because obviously because I am a woman, but I feel like I've seen more people applaud a Black man for being in an interracial relationship. Again, like going back to what I said previously, it's seen as a success. Oh, so you got some money. For example, let's look at people in the NFL or NBA or what have you. I have a lot of friends who are in both, and those who are in a relationship with a Black woman, the stories that they've told me from their teammates alone, I'm like, that's mind blowing. That people are really like, well, I don't want to be with somebody I can't bring to the game. I can't be with somebody who's going to make me look bad. But they're talking about Black women. And when I remember I walked into I'm not going to say any names, but when I first started at Universal Cedric, I was one of the very few Black women in my role. Not the only one, for those who are watching and will be mad. But I walk in and there was a group of men who were like,
she not on here.
And one of them came up to me and was trying to talk to me or whatever. And over the week he'd been trying to like spit some game or whatever. And I'm just like, well, then I guess he got word that I was in an interracial relationship and comes up to me later on in the week and says, dang, we lost one. We lost the queen. I heard you were messing with somebody, or you're in a group. I was like, oh, so hold on one second. And I just go up to all these different Black men that I knew were in interracial relationships. And I was like, did he ever say anything to you about you losing somebody, a part of the community, you losing a king? Did he ever say that? No? Got it. Hold them to that. Don't hold me to that. But that's real. That happens. I'm not saying it doesn't happen to Black men, but again, that's just my experience. I haven't seen it on that magnitude.
Miles, Wise, anybody want to chime in?
How you feel about it, Wise?
Interracial dating?
Yeah, I want truth.
Oh no, come on, man. That's not so. And a lot of things that I tend to say is not the most popular thing. For example, people say often, love who you love. You know what I mean? Love has no color. I think a lot of people misunderstand the concept of love, right? Love is a culmination of actions, right? That's communication, commitment. It takes work in order for you to love somebody. Like I recently put a post that, I'm not interested in loving everybody because I can't put in work into everybody. And that a lot of people confuse love and kindness. Now, I could be kind to you. I could be kind to my neighbors, but I can't love them because that requires work. So on the level of, me understanding the state of my community, right? That there are a lot of Black women who are single, and there are a lot of Black men who aren't available to these women, right? I understand white supremacy and the effects that it had on the Black community. I understand the pain and anguish that our people went through, and the importance of me being with a Black woman and to propagate with her to raise up a Black boy or girl. You know what I mean? If you choose to love outside of the community, that's your choice. That's not something I'm gonna hate you for or whatnot. But for me, where I stand is that it's more important for me as a nation for me to remain where I am. You know what I mean? So that's just my take.
Understood, man.
And all those takes are definitely, things to look at. So I had this thought process for a long time, right? You know, growing up in the 90s, it's, oh, a brother get rich. No, get a white woman, you know, this, that, and third. And so I started to look at it from a mental standpoint or a an emotional or chemical standpoint. But follow me here. So I asked myself, like, damn, so Harry Belafonte was like part of the civil rights movement, but he married a white woman. So I started thinking deeper, like, okay, well, what would make him think that all the sisters around him didn't make him feel more of a black man than this woman did? So then I went off of love, and then I started just noticing. This is just through observation. This is no scientific proven fact or whatever the case. And I just went off observation from things I saw in high school. Cause I came from a very diverse high school. Shameless plug, Cypress Creek. And then things I saw in entertainment and movies, right? So I noticed that brothers that had darker pigmentation, like myself, or like Cedric, or you know, Miles, or I mean, all the brothers on here, man. We chocolates, man. We
But there's good name for the light skins.
What I noticed about some of those brothers is they had fitting in issues in regards to black women and what a certain edge a black woman wants a black man to come with, right? Mm-hmm. He may have talked a little bit more proper than the man that you know, that she's normally attracted to. And again, this is off observation. And colorism as well, that I saw. You know, he was a darker brother, right? And so when I look at that brother and I look at him with a white woman, I say, okay, outside of the love and everything like that, more than likely his experience with black women was not a good one. And I use a good example in Michael Jordan. I really think Michael Jordan experienced colorism growing up, you know, which is the reason that he's not so attached to the black community. You know, it's a reason why he's not so down, as we like to say. So then I looked at the lighter skinned brother, right? Like we like to call Jesse Williams and Harry Belafonte. And I noticed that every brother who mom was a white woman either had a woman that was a wife or at one point dated a plethora of white women. So when we talk about, we go back to saying the black woman is God and things of that sort. Let's just speak on mother, right? Let's take color out of it and speak on mother, right? They say a woman will learn love first from her father, right? So subconsciously or consciously, some guys will say, man, I want a woman just like my mom. Some guys will say, man, I don't want a woman like my mom, but subconsciously still gets one. So what I look at when I see the light-skinned brother who mom is white, I think of that as a deeper thing emotionally, that he looks at a white woman from a totally different aspect that I wouldn't even be able to understand emotionally and mentally because he comes from that loin. Right. So I think that was just, again, an observation. Is not anything scientifically proven. But if you guys just go back and start paying attention and see if the mom or even grandma, right? Mm-hmm. You know, if they are right and it's a lighter brother, a lot of times it's either mixed women, you know, white women, you know, and things of that sort. But normally, again, through my observation, I've seen colorism with the darker skinned brother which led him to maybe Hispanic women or, you know, white women. So I started looking at it from a deeper aspect than just a brother don't want to deal with a strong woman, right. Or, you know, because there's some white women out there don't take no bull crap, you know, right. or you know, a sister want a white man to run over him. I know some thug white boys, you know. So I started looking at, and I'm only looking at it from a man perspective. I don't know if this is the same way as a woman. So mixed women out there, if you can kind of chime on this, but I just, as an observation throughout the years, I noticed that. I don't know how you brothers feel about that. I'm still kind of working on that theory. It's been like a 5-6 year theory.
No, I mean, I think you're heading in the right place, Twan. And we got to also factor in that usually the you know, black men would choose a white woman because it was a sign of success. You know, it was a sign that they made it. You know what I mean? That they're no longer shunned by the community. You know what I mean? Or the majority of the community in America. You know what I mean? So you would see that phenomenon, but you would see that as well with Black women who would marry white men. You know, they would feel like they've made it. You know, they're in a successful position. You know, they feel like their voices are heard, per se. Shout out to Miles with "Let Your Voice Be Heard."
That's some super ex-rapper stuff right there. That's just a super ex-rapper bar.
Ex-rapper bars.
Yeah, so that's my
little, go find the album.
Just to add on to what Twan was talking about, he's kind of in the right area as well. A lot of that stems from self-hate as well, because they didn't appreciate their mother. You know, they probably didn't have a father in the home. So to disassociate themselves from that community is to not partake in it, you know, because of that experience.
I'm sorry, that was actually my third observation. The third observation is the relationship that he had with his mom.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if his mom was what we like to call mouthy, or you know what I mean, or whatever the case may be, culturally, right? We're just talking about culturally. That's something that I would normally see certain brothers steer away from when they came up in life. So again, I'm not saying that I don't think all of those things are true, because I do. I just was like, man, let me look at it another way, because I'm like, it ain't no way Harry Belafonte wasn't down. You know, Jesse Williams down like Julie Brown. So it's like, okay, it got to be something deeper, right? And that's just what I start kind of observing and going back.
Yeah, and you kind of headed in the right place. Like, I know a lot of people aren't familiar with Cheikh Anta Diop. So Cheikh Anta Diop was pretty much the man who kind of set off the whole Pan-African movement on a scientific level, pretty much stating that, our ancestors were the ones who built the pyramids and built all of these things in Eastern Africa, on the east coast of Africa, before moving west. And he ended up marrying a white woman, and people couldn't understand why. How could you know so much about your history and you still marry outside of your community? So that's something that still happened amongst a lot of people. And sometimes it's an elite thing. Like I stated, it's a success thing, you know, and it's not good to kind of objectify white women in that sense, but still it happened, you know? So.
Yeah, and I'm gonna hop in now. You know, I was listening. I wanted to be an observer. You know, I appreciate y'all having me on here, and I logged on late.
Always the one with the dreads.
Yeah.
That boy was talking a long time. I know he just like, man,
last week.
Get my rest on.
But I was just, observing. But on this subject, it's funny I said it because, like, I have, white women who approach me sometimes, and they'll be like, the first thing they'll say is like, well, I know you wouldn't be interested in somebody like me because of what you do. But, and they try to like kind of let me know how they down with the movement or down with like Black people in general. And it's funny because it's like, I don't think a Black person who deals with a white person, I don't think that makes you any less of a Black person. I don't think that makes you any less real. But I think though, it's like, if you have that preference though, that you feel like being with a white person is going to be easier. Like I hear people say like they're with a white person because Black people are so combative or this and that. Like it's a generalization, and that's where it gets dangerous. Like if you with a white person because you met this particular person and you like them, you felt the vibe and y'all connected, I don't see the harm in that. But if you telling me that you see a Black person and even if you connect with them, you're like, no, I can't do it because they Black, and I know at the end of the day they're gonna get an attitude and they're gonna be trifling. They're gonna like that's that self-hate type of stuff that I can't rock with. So me personally, like I have a preference for Black women. That's just my preference because it's like kind of like my environment, what I was raised in, what I grow up to appreciate. Also being a son of a single mother and seeing her, kind of having her like, kind of what Twan said, I had on a pedestal in my mind. I had her as a superwoman in my mind. So when I got older, I wanted somebody who also had those same kind of qualities that I thought made her like a superwoman. So I think sometimes it's just about the preference and what you grow up and seeing. If you got a woman, like I know another brother of mine, so his mom was very like toxic to him. Like he came home one day and she moved out with a boyfriend and he just came to an empty house. Like that type of toxic stuff. And he was only 15, had to come stay with me and my mom. Like he grew up to not want any woman that was anything like his mom. Like for a while he would only date Spanish women because he felt like a Spanish woman wouldn't do that because he didn't know any Spanish boys who could tell him like, nah, Spanish women do the same thing today. If this is a messed up person, it's a messed up person. But when that's the reality and they start to think like it's only because she's black and she's in the hood, that's why she did that. You know, sometimes they do shape that kind of opinion. So it's all about your environment and then how you kind of shape it. Because one person could see it and take it in one way, and another person see that same situation and take it another.
Wow.
Oh. Thank you for that insight. I will say that as a woman, a black woman who is in an interracial relationship, I think an interracial relationship is more difficult than dating someone. Like, I have dated black men before, and I'm still friends with those black men. That was love. That's real love. Like, where you could still communicate with somebody. It just didn't work out that way. But for me and my relationship, we have to have open dialogue. We have to have conversations. We have to talk about pressing issues in my community, because everything I do goes back to who I am as a black woman. And one of the first conversations I had with him, first of all, when I first met him, I asked, how do your parents feel about you dating a black woman? That's number one. My parents, though I was not raised in the same household as my father, I'm very fortunate and blessed that I have a great relationship with my dad. And my mother and my father have a great relationship as well. They're friends. And they both taught me, we don't mind who you end up with, but make sure, they respect you, they treat you right, they love you. And if they aren't black, you better ask them if their parents are okay with them. And so that was one of the first questions I asked my partner. And then moving forward, continue to have those conversations, even now, especially now, because I need to know where your family stands. I need to know what you're going to do when I'm in a position and I need your help, because how are you going to ensure that I'm going to be safe? How are you going to use your white voice? How are you going to be an advocate for me and my community? Because if we have children tomorrow, guess what? Your children are black. I don't care how bright their skin is, they are black. And so
y'all see that hair?
Okay. So I have to have these conversations, and I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it gets difficult. I get frustrated at times. He knows this, Cedric. You know this, because I'll be
absolutely,
absolutely. He probably
he listening. I see him. I see him in the chat.
Yeah. Love you, Alex.
Love you, Alex.
I get so frustrated because there's some things that it's just, he asked me questions and he's asking to learn. I can't knock him for wanting to learn, but sometimes he'll ask questions and I'm like, man, I really got to sit here and explain it. But he's doing it to understand. And so it's difficult because at times I'm like, I wonder if I would be having this conversation with a black man. But then I remember like conversations like this where we have to have open dialogue. We have to ask questions. How do you decipher the best raise children when in an interracial relationship, or the discussion on political views? So for me, I don't have children, so I can't speak from a perspective as someone who is raising children. I have a black dog and a white dog. But we do talk about
best dogs.
Because I'm going to be real with y'all. I'm going to be real transparent for this question specifically.
Don't be too transparent. You got to make sure you say some stuff private.
My boyfriend will never be, if he becomes my husband tomorrow and we have children, he will never be able to teach my child how to be, if I had a son, how to be a black man. I know that he is an incredible man and he's going to teach them how to be a man. There's going to be some things that I'm going to have to phone my dad, if God willing he's still here to be able to do that, or phone a friend. I'm Uncle Cedric. There's going to be some conversations that my child's going to have that he can't ask me, and he might not be able to ask his dad. So I'm going to have to use my resources. So that is a conversation that has came about in the manner of raising children. As for political views, we have the same political views, so we don't have to really. I mean, we talk about politics, but we have the same political views.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to, I mean, obviously, like, been in interracial relationships and like not having children either, can't speak from experience, but it's going to come down to that understanding of as soon as your child understands, you know, mommy, your relationship don't look like my friend's relationship. Like,
right.
That's the time for you to begin these conversations. Like, it is a disservice to raise children, you know, believe in one thing and you know, the high yellow light skins, you know, being white passing. Like, it's a disservice for them to grow up and have to, you know, confront life as it comes at them fast. Like, I'm thinking of my brother Isaiah, and I'm just like he grew up differently than I did. And it's just like my brother Chris, like, we went to high school together, and like you could tell, like, you know, super high yellow, like blue eyes, cornrows, nappy hair. His mom is like almost Karen White, but like you know, it's just like that culture. Like, we eating like beef stew and whatnot, like, and his dad, like, you know, dad is like super dark, and it's just like you have, you know, these cultures, and you have, you know, that side of the wedding rehearsal, and it's just like all of these things that you don't want to be new without you. It's like talking to your kids about smoking, and talking to your kids about sex, and talking to your kids about drugs. Like, that hit different because that information comes at a different time. But like, definitely, you know, teach your light-skinned little girl to appreciate her hair, and it's different, and she's special for it. And your little black boy, like, you know, like, his hair is different too. And you know, at what point, like, this is a perspective that I got from week 1 of Better Together. Like, at what point is he going to be black? Or, you know, at what point is he not handsome anymore? Like, the threat is going to come one day, and you don't want it to be like when he's older and not around. Like, this is like what we didn't have that kids have today now is the Black Lives Matter movement, where, you know, Nickelodeon, you know, goes black, and hello, it's the wake-up call, ring the alarm. Like, these parents have to have these ugly conversations. Like, I tell people all the time, man, the world is not PG-13 anymore. And like, moving forward from this point on, our first day out there at Lake Eola, I seen 3 little white girls out there holding signs. I saw a baby out there, his hand was on the sign, and it was just like, I imagine having to explain that to your child, like, why you're out here in a 100-degree sun, you know, getting sunburned, like, at this age. And like, them little girls are screaming louder than people that I've known all my life, and I will always continue to say that. But it was just like, man, like, these kids are smart. And like MJ, you talk to your dogs, and it's just like, the dogs, I talk to my dog, like, they get it. And it's just like, the kids get it at a you know, obviously better level, but it's just like, you talking to your babies, like, they get it. They want to grow up and be grown and do goo goo gaga. They on the phone, and you see the little videos of them, like, emulating you and watching what you do. And like, let it start early. Like, you know,
thank you.
Make it special that, you know, you're doing hair, and like, it ain't happening as fast as, you know, their friends is going to. But like, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So just to kind of add on to that, you know, all
absolutely.
of that is
Victoria.
nice. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that is nice. You know, it's cute to see children, you know, holding up signs and whatnot. You know, it may seem as though they get it until they go into the school system and being educated about nothing but white supremacy, right? They're going to be taught about George Washington, Columbus, and so on and so forth. So the system is going to mold them into a certain way, you know, until they get into an age where they're a threat. It's a little different, as innocent as they look now, but once they get into the system, the institution of white supremacy, it's going to be a different tone. I'm telling you.
If you allow that.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
it's your job to change that narrative for them as a parent.
Especially knowing what we went through in our school system.
Like, I'm not saying as a parent from that perspective, but again, I'm very fortunate and blessed. I have my dad who, again, did not raise me in his home, but my father lives in DC and he is a director at Homeland Security. Mm-hmm. Whenever I go to see my dad, ever since I was a kid, what do you want to do? I tell him I want to go to the museums. Okay, because everything is free in DC for museums. So he would go and he would say, walk around the room, come back and tell me what you learned. I'd come back and he'd say, now let me tell you the real story. And I'm blessed that I had that because there were a lot of things that I was taught in school. But this goes back to that open dialogue with your children. When they come home from school, sit down. This is what me and my mom used to do too. Sit down, open up their assignments, see what it is that they are learning in school. And then it's your opportunity and to teach them what the truth is. And don't let it stop the education in the classroom. So there were times where my mom had me doing math stuff at home and I'm like, girl, I don't need to do this. And she's like, oh, you're going to do this. And it helped me excel and succeed in a different format because I was already there. It doesn't stop in the classroom, and that's how you can prevent those things being distorted. I'm not saying you can't. What you're saying. I don't disagree with you because I 100% agree. But we have to take it a step forward as people who are raising the future.
Yeah. So Tuan, I want you to go ahead and comment on that, and then for the sake of time and People's Night, I want you to go ahead and transition to topic 2.
Okay. So to end this off, actually, that was actually Jay Wise's response to me the other day when I told him that I wanted to try to get some of Dr. Claude Anderson's books and curriculum. So to expound on that a little bit, absolutely right. It starts at home with education, just like ABCs, just like 1, 2, 3s. The problem and the reason why we have to destroy the system of white supremacy is because we should not be okay. And now let me tell you the truth.
Yeah, right.
So we got to remember something, right? So we are working people, right? And in the workforce, we know that we are at work during the work week more than we are with our families. Our kids are at school during the work week more than they are with their parents, right? So if you got a kid, let's just say you work 8 to 5, you get home at 6, right? If bedtime is at 8, you pick them up at 6, you have 2 hours. Yep. 2 hours to check their homework and what they were doing to make sure that within this system, you are at least successful within this bullshit ass system, right? Like you said, we can't ignore the education. You got to feed them, bathe them, wind down. How was your day? Whoop, whoop. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it on the weekends and things of that sort. And obviously your parents slipped it in, but just as much as it is, unless we're just going to flat out talk about homeschool or our own schools and our own curriculum. And that's a whole nother different topic when we talk about the integration thing. Right. But just sticking right here, that's the problem, is the fact that your pops, my pops, everybody else. Well, now let me tell you what really happened. Right. You see what I'm saying? It's no way if you have our children, as long as a job shift, that all they are seeing is a white male, because not even a female, because they got to fight under this umbrella as well. Mm-hmm. A white male always being in charge. And then on Sunday, we prayed. I'm gonna stop. As this awakening continues to happen amongst our people, right? And as these things, so you got to understand something. A lot of parents that's our age, I'm 35. Oh, be 36 this month. Woo woo. But a lot of parents our age is just coming into this knowledge like this. You know what I'm saying? So as we're learning, we got to feed. But one of my goals is to permanently implement. I mean, shout out to Orange County school systems for passing a mandate of now having to teach about the Ocoee massacre, but we know when they're going to choose to teach that. They're not going to choose to teach it on the anniversary. They're going to put it in there with Black History Month, right? So what I'm aiming for is to say, well, Black history is American history, and why can't that be taught throughout curriculum throughout the year? Because then it helps my teachings. Because now what happens, right, and we can all attest to sports and coaching. The reason why a veteran player is so important on the team is because when the coach is saying something to the young players, the veteran can then come in there and close it up and say, hey, young buck, he is right. Or as the coach is talking to him, the young player is looking at the veteran, and all he see the veteran doing is, now it's confirmation in regards to what the information is. There was Black scientists, there was Black mathematicians. Why can't that be taught within the curriculum? Therefore, if a young Black boy chooses to play football, that's just, and he plays football. He doesn't have to think football is going to get him out of his situation because he's interested in science because he know a Black scientist. He's interested in math because there was a Black mathematician. And the one thing that we always hear about anything that inspires little kids is, especially kids of color, I knew I was able to do it when I saw somebody on TV that looked like me who did it. But why do we have to wait to the TV? We can wait to the books. We can wait to and we give this system our children. So with that being said, if we're going to say homeschool, now we talking. But even then they give you the information to, you know what I'm saying, to feed them. So what we have to do is infiltrate it from an educational standpoint, because that's how they infiltrated us. So when anybody is talking about reparations, I'm always for the check. But the first thing is mental health and education, because that's how they got us in the position for us to not do the other things like value money and things of that sort. If you don't think you ain't shit, then that's how you're going to function from a generational standpoint. And it starts in the classroom, at home, and in the classroom when we give our kids to the system. So if I'm going to give my kid to you and your system, just like I can dictate the food you put in my kid, I'm going to dictate the knowledge that you put in my kid. And that's what we need to start doing, going to the school boards. And that's really my number one thing that I think I'm kind of revealing right here. But that's the number one thing that I want to do, is infiltrate education for the right reasons and implement our culture throughout curriculum and not just 1 month, even though a brother came up with that month, which is another myth, but just to implement it throughout. And I think that's when it sticks. There's no reason why a young Black kid should be learning about Black history in college for the first time. And if you talk to every brother or sister that went to college, they'll tell you the first time I learned about it was in college. Well, how does it take 18 years, obviously on top of what your dad already told you, for you to really know the truth for some people that say that they're in charge?
And even in the colleges, they're not teaching it, to be honest with you, because I went to an HBCU. I went to Langston University, shout out, and I went there to get educated on psychology and computer information, but they wasn't teaching Black history. I had to go in and do the work myself. Wow. You know what I mean? Learning from other master teachers that, like Dr. John Henry Clark and whatnot.
But they'll tell him, because they dictate this system, dictates the educational system, right? Yeah. Because they didn't have this information in their education system for him to get a paper on. They would tell him that his 17 years of independent studies means nothing because he doesn't have a paper. And this is one of the best scholars that I know in regards to our history. But what they would tell him is he's not accomplished in regards to he didn't come from this school, or he don't have this kind of paper, or this. Well, how can he if that's not what you're providing him to actually say, yo, I can actually go get a degree on this?
That's what Dr. Henry Clark was saying. He didn't get that doctor in his name by
getting fired. He's talking the truth.
It's his community that gave him Dr. John Henry Clark. You know what I mean?
For real.
I love y'all.
We love us too.
So family, I wanted to segue into the second topic, because for a week now I've showed much restraint, which is actually surprising for the people on this live that actually know. me. And it actually was inspired by a call.
Retired or show restraint, yo.
By a call from a brother on this live. I don't mean to put him out, but from a brother on this live. And I'm not gonna say he changed my mind. It's just he made me think, right? So this clip that we're seeing right here, a representative of Channel 6 was shout out to Troy. This has nothing to do with Troy. Great dude, Troy Campbell. Reached out to us on the forum. It was all agreed amongst the group that I would be the one to represent Orlando Strong, in this respective interview, and was interviewed for about 10 minutes in regards to what I felt about the Black Lives Matter mural. More importantly, what I want to say, family, right now is for those that have been tagging me and congratulating me and saying, man, some even misinterpreting that it was me that was the reason for the mural. I want to apologize and I want to say I made a mistake. And the reason that I say I made a mistake in regards to not thoroughly understanding the climate of the situation, thinking that this would be good for our platform and the movement that we're trying to do. But after seeing the video and getting a better understanding after my conversation and just observations that I had throughout the week, the mural means nothing if you don't listen to the voice of the people. So when we on roll and we hide and we risking COVID and we doing all of this, it's in commemoration of trying to get a policy change and trying to get things done. So as a man, I had to look back at myself, and this is why I liked a lot of comments, but I never actually spoke or responded and told everybody thank you, because I didn't feel like I needed to be thanked, because I didn't thoroughly survey the situation. And family, this is why it's important to survey the situation. Now, people that know me that's not really engulfed and close to the situation is just looking at that and saying, oh my God, somebody I know that's dope, proud of him. Woo. And I thank you guys. And I'm not trying to dismiss your acknowledgement, but I want people to understand, one, I wasn't responsible for it. But more importantly, the narrative that has been played from city officials to say that they're in solidarity with the protesters, that was nothing, what I had said, in the interview, and the city officials kicking out some of the lead activists at this planned event shows you that they are not in solidarity. So, man, I thank my brother Miles, for just hitting me up, giving me some game. I'm not going to really, expose that conversation. And like I said, this decision had nothing to do in regards to anybody telling me anything. It was the spark to make me think and sit back, and other observations and other things that I saw. I was like, damn, man, I made a mistake. And I think in these times, we have to be careful in regards to what we jump in front of, what cameras we jump in front of, and the things that we don't even know we may be attached to. So I will hand the conversation off like that, and just say that this is about change. This is not about just a mirror. I love the red, black, and green. I got my red, black, and green flag flying right here. But it would have been nice that they say, in commemorance of mandatory quarterly psych evaluations and a new hiring process, in the commemorance of the new policy change in regards to the civilian board, in commemorance of everything that we are trying to fight for in regards to this system that we're talking about, this represents that. And this is why we feel Black Lives Matter, because we did these things. No, we did not set up a meeting to promise to do these things. We actually did these things. And in honor of doing these things, here are the people that was in the room helping us do these things. And we thank you. And this is truly for the people. So an inadvertent photo op in that regard is what I felt as a team we were all roped into. And I'm thankful to have people that are seasoned to where moving forward, we are going to control our narrative. I was on another Black broadcast earlier with a brother that I had issues with in the past, but I'm not on that type of time. We here, family. So these are the platforms that we are going to use to get our story and get our narrative out. I didn't mean to be long-winded, but I think
he wasn't long-winded. And just to add to what Twan was saying, because Twan, I take some responsibility in that as well, because when I had the conversation with you, I was thinking, maybe this will be a good opportunity to get a shameless plug in to where the platform could get some exposure to where people could kind of really get a better sense of what we're doing. You know what I mean? And and one of my first thoughts was, damn, I think you should also hit up Miles too. You know what I mean? One of my thoughts, but I was just thinking about, hey, Twan, if you're going to talk to him, try to plug it in there as fast as you
right. Like take advantage of something you want. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Throw it in there as fast as you can.
By the way, didn't even appear.
But I knew that I was going to edit it in some type of way. But go ahead, Miles.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, and when y'all did that, and I seen it, I think that's like I told Twan when I said, hey man, we need somebody in there. Like if they don't hit somebody else up, and you're the person to hit up because you're leading these protests, people see you as a leader. He's naturally a leader. Like if people haven't been in these protests, like Twan came out there in his volunteer servant mindset, and then we know what his talents are with the mic. We gave him the mic, and not just like on some chant and stuff. Like he has led the people on some spiritual guidance ways, on some like thinking deeper and like going deeper. So when you gotta understand, like when you're doing this out your heart, people who have agendas are looking at this. It's like, wow, he's controlling the people. So if I get him, I get a win for all. So when they approach you, it's not just because they like what you said only, it's because they saw the power in what you said. And so they want to get that cosign, because people approach me sometimes and they want me to speak. And it's not that I feel like I don't have the right to speak. It's that sometimes when I say stuff, I know they're going to take that and make it a blanket statement for everybody else. So I try to think, like, is this something that everybody would be okay with co-signing on? And if I don't got everybody's input, I'm not going to do it. But if it's something that I got to speak up for and no one's there to do it, we need to be the ones in that gap, because somebody got to be there. And trust and believe, Twan, if they didn't interview you, they was going to interview somebody else from those marches, and it was going to be the same outcome. But the most important part, like I told him, was like we get in there and like when they ask me questions like, hey, do you like this mural that the city's doing? I could be like, yeah, it's a nice mural, but no, that's too much, because they could just take that it's a nice mural and cut it. I was like, somebody asked me, do you like this mural? No, I don't like it, because it's not what we asked for. What we asked for was policy change. This would be nice if we did this. And it's all about us controlling the narrative, because understand, brother, I've been there where I've talked 20 minutes about who did this and who did this and what everything. And then all that made it was when I said, well, we're not really that mad, and they'll take that one piece and make that clip bite. So it's the games they do. Yeah, so that's why I say I called you like on some, hey man, that was actually a good look, because yeah, they might have cut it how they wanted to, but people did go look up who is Twan D, who is Antoine Clark. How can I find out more about him? And somebody might be on this live right now who saw that, a couple people might be on it. So it all works in the end.
I mean, and again, I appreciate both of you brothers, man, because both of y'all are instrumental in my role, in using my voice, right? My big mouth. That's what I use. But I think for me, it's not trying to grandstand. It's not like my moment is when I'm in front of the people on the mic. Like that's just literally what the creator put me on the earth for. So anything other than that, if it's not a team thing, that's just how I've always rocked. The only reason that I did it is because the team said it. It wasn't like a, hey, I'll do it if you guys don't want to. It was more so I'm not. I mean, for those that did, the friend request, but that's just really not what it's about for me, man. When it comes to this, that's why people say, oh, why you don't plug your podcast? Because that's not the type of time I'm on right now. Like I ain't on that time, And so I appreciate the words and I appreciate the advice, the leadership, that you stay giving me, bro. And helping me find my voice in the community. And you've helped me do that for the last 3 years, bro. So I appreciate it. And I just felt like it was my responsibility to the people that follow me to understand, that is my true feelings. But I just had to sit back because I didn't want to brag or boast and be like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? It really didn't feel that way for me. So that's really what it is.
And one thing I want to just say about the mural, right? Like you kind of hit on every point. like when people need to understand when they watch the news, like we got did wrong by the mural, also by the news. We came out there, mind you, this mural wouldn't have been put in place if all the separate groups who's been on the ground hadn't been protesting. No one group could take credit, no one person could take credit, and I would never like presume to even do that. And when it comes down to it, we came down there as people who just knew we were part of the movement. We are substantially part of it. So we came down there to see what was taking place with this mural. When we went down there to see it, we let it take place. We didn't disrupt it. We didn't interrupt. There's a lot of things that we discussed that we could have did that we did not do. And when we went to the front to speak, we got the police called on us by our own Black people who were sitting in front acting like they were doing this for Black Lives Matter. And in this climate, in this day and age, when you know we're fighting, and Twan, you can attest to this, that we have multiple people get crazy and crunk at these protests, and we have de-escalated every single one of them without bringing any police in. We telling people like, bro, calm down. We trying to save us from the police. So I'm not going to bring the police in here. So for our own people to call the police on us while we out here speaking, and you telling the news and you telling the people that we're doing this because of the protest, but the main protesters come out and you try to call the police on them, you know, hey, the Black in us came out, so to say. I hate to be real with you. So, you know, it got real, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, like they try to teach you that you need to be calm and quiet and collected. Like, no, like there's sometimes that we got to be passionate. Sometimes we got to be willing to metaphorically tear some shit up and even literally tear some shit up. So at the end of the day, like being passive and being submissive has not done anything for our people. And I'm not trying to lead us into no war, but I'm trying to let our people know that we are warriors at heart. And we can't be rolling over and thinking a photo op is worth us giving up our pride and us giving up what we got to do.
Absolutely.
And if you guys, go ahead, John. Oh, he said Wakanda forever. Yo, so as you guys have seen, the Orlando Strong Broadcast Network media team was out there, and we documented the speeches that were going on from, you know, government officials, and then there was a little like bit of the afterwards. I had showed up when what Miles was talking about was transpiring, and so you'll see that in if you go back into our, you know, previous streams, that was what was going on. So we do have footage of that. And then there was like a group of kids out there, some youth groups that were painting the mural and whatnot. And so, can you hear us, MJ? Thumbs up.
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I hear y'all. I don't know what's going on, but your thumb isn't in the camera. There it is. Okay, cool. She back. I think she have internet problems. It's the iPad life. You got to get you an Android. Anyways, we're out there recording, and I think Channel 6, Brian. I think it was Channel 9. 6 is who got Twan. Channel 9 was out there, and they had came up to me and James, our other media guy, and they were just like, hey, do you guys mind doing an interview? And I had known from previous conversations that Twan had already done an interview, and we kind of said that we wanted to record these interviews so we could be held accountable for the things that we say. So I saw that they had the cameras on James. I walked over, and per the stream, I believe my microphone might have been muted, but like just to record what had transpired, we did pull the footage from the stream to show you guys, and production is gonna go ahead and run that beautiful footage.
Shout out to production, baby.
No, I'll talk with him next.
Absolutely. Okay, great.
All right, go for it. First, just give me your first and last name and spell them both out, please.
James Brody, JamesBrody.
For his protection, we're just gonna talk through all of this information and where he's from and all the other stuff, because that's just what we do. That's what we do.
Everybody needs to be here right now, especially for what's been going on lately and what's going on right now. It's a really important part of this.
When you look at it, what's your reaction?
It's beautiful. I love it. I mean, just looking at it, it makes me smile. I love it.
And apologies for the audio quality. This is my microphone picking him up.
And about everyone just trying together to find.
It says. I mean, it says a lot. I know there's a lot of hate going on at the same time, and it's just that's all silence because of all politics. I'm really speechless, honestly, when I see something like this, because it's just.
So it's amazing how you could say all of this kind of to what Twan was saying, and they didn't even air this. But you know, if they did, they would definitely take the opportunity to.
I'm Justin Dakota. I've lived in Orlando for 12 years now. I'm here because Black Lives Matter, and they matter specifically to me in Orlando. Because I am a Black man and I've lived here for a time, I'm very important in this community. These are the streets that I've control of my friends on, the streets that I've also lost friends due to terrorism, hatred. I was given first everything we were out there at Michigan. I've been here almost every weekend. You see this? That's all the other kids getting ready to do it and gearing up to do it. I'm glad I came to Mexico.
So basically, they, you know, were just asking us how we felt about it, and you know, my response was just like, you know, all the other states are doing it, and it felt like, you know, we were stepping up to the plate to do it also. But definitely, that interaction was, they had already, you know, began questioning James, and he looked over to me, and I caught his face signal and started, you know, to come over to, you know, to record, and he was trying to deflect them over to me, which I feel like why he was like at that angle to not be recorded. But she was adamant about getting as much content as she could, and was like, I'm definitely, as you heard, I'm definitely going to talk to him, but you know, let me hear from you first and whatnot. So he said what he said, I said what I said, and then we were asked to go get some B-roll footage of us, you know, walking around recording, you know, people painting. Didn't see this air at all, and so it was just like, what was the point of asking us? There weren't that many people out there outside of the you know, the children's groups out there painting, but there were like a lot more people. You know, Miles is out there, and there were people around him, but like, did they, you know, care to put the cameras in their face? Like, obviously they had been out there, you know, the whole time when the altercation was happening, and the tensions were high and whatnot, and you know, could have stood to ask these questions, but it just seems like they wanted, the only narrative that they wanted to get out of that was what they could twist, and maybe, you know, they did record all of that, and for whatever reason the plug got pulled to not, you know, broadcast the truth. But I will say, we were out there up until a point where they left, and I got some footage of just the street, and I had walked down to the end of the street where they were not recording the city workers painting the mural, and they the city workers are down there like, man, the news crews packed up and left, but y'all still out here recording, man. We appreciate that. They didn't even come down here, you know, to ask us anything. And they were just kind of like, we appreciate y'all. Where can we find this footage? So, you know, I plug Orlando Strong, obviously. And it meant something to me that, like Twan said it earlier, like when the news camera stopped, like this is when our media begins. Like, and that's what, you know, this network is going to continue to be. Like, for, you know, him to have been interviewed for 45 plus minutes by was it Channel 6 or Channel 9, and then them not air that, like his feelings were just kind of like, you know, you eat around like the sustenance and whatnot, and like his message could have been clear, but they just kind of manipulated his message.
Not only that, man, like just observing everything that's surrounding you, right? Yeah. And I'm gonna be honest, it was a sucker move, and it was a slap in the face to the protesters to say that the people did something that the people that wasn't involved in doing. You understand what I'm saying? And so with holding much restraint this week, letting people understand that ain't gonna happen again. And two, we can do something to let the people know, man, this is us, bruh. So you got these kids out here in the sun, and you record the kids, and they're painting it, and they're doing this, and it's this big thing, and it's an invite only thing. When that street been flooded with thousands for weeks.
Yes.
For weeks.
Yes. Yes.
That's how fake it was.
Outside of that old whack silent walk that they had. They weren't responsible for that. It was the families. It was the people that came out and sweated and was changing masks because they were sweating and risking this and risking that and calling off work and relationship problems and all that real
all
shit.
of that.
You know what I'm saying? That
all
goes on when you want to dedicate your time to this thing, especially if you have a family. So in hindsight and just looking on things, it was like, all right, I want to blow up so bad. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, it's the disrespect. It's the disrespect.
You have every right.
The disrespect to Miss Lawana. It's the disrespect to everybody that's been a TJ. It's a disrespect to everybody that's been on the ground, the young activist groups. And it's just one of those things, man, to where it's just like, but then you come off right as, well, you know, you guys are complaining. What more do you want? You know, and
we gave you the cop show pull. We gave you the.
Don't get me wrong. I'm down with the movement. I'm down with the movement, family. The organization, that's another talk we can have. But I'm down with the movement. So I love seeing that art, that red, black, and green painted strong in
yeah, man.
But it has
to sir. That was my biggest thing.
It has to be, and I'm gonna tell you, principle. It has to be based on principle and genuine acceptance of the wrongs that you are trying to right.
Right.
That's what it has to be based on. And that's
I would say, just to add to that too, bro, like with the youth that was out there that Cedric spoke on, you know, we know some of them youth groups. We work with them exclusively. We have done charity with those groups. We from Paramount by same neighborhood. So like when they're seeing there and they're looking at this, they don't know the politics behind it. So the only reason we did not like form a formal, because we know we could have did a protest against it. We could have came out deep in numbers we wanted to, but we didn't because there might be a young aspiring children or a young like group of kids or just anybody, even an adult who sees that and is inspired to like pick up this fight and help us. So that's the only reason why in theory it's a good concept, but the timing of it is horrible. And you know, we just can't support it because like you said, it's just celebratory and there's nothing to celebrate. Like everything, there's nothing that's been changed.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was a moment for the Jits and how they felt. And you know, like you said, it will inspire, you know, someone out there. But we, you know, I'll say this to all the young folk out there. You know, be careful, family. You know, listen to the people that are seasoned in this thing. Listen to the people that don't take it as no one trying to tell you what to do. You know, I'm a firm believer, right? They say the truth hurts. So I'm a firm believer. If somebody's trying to tell you the truth and it doesn't sting a little bit when you hang up the phone, it really probably wasn't the whole truth. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't going, man, you know, if you ain't brushing it off initially, you know, if you ain't, man, whatever, bro. It ain't the truth. That's just, it stung you. You know what I'm saying? And so I had to take that gut, that feeling in the gut. You know what I mean? When you see the name, you see the call, you like, damn. All right. You know what I'm saying? Let me pick up the phone. you know, you take it and you take it with stride, man, and you learn better from it. So like I said, I appreciate everybody that has given me a moment or a platform, you know, to use something that I would always get kicked out the class for. You know, I appreciate y'all.
Just to piggyback off of you, Twan and Miles, I had some mixed emotions about the RBG colors. You know, I was like, dang, maybe this could lead to questions of why the color. But on the other side, I was like, that's disrespectful. Why?
It was a slight.
Marcus Garvey in my interview, and he didn't put Marcus Garvey in my interview, man. It was a teaching moment.
No, listen. That was Jay Wild, bro. I'm so happy you said that, bro. Listen. We talked about that amongst ourselves. When Buddy Dyer when somebody told him what the red, black, and green meant, he probably was like, "Oh, send them back to Africa. Let's paint it those colors." Like real talk. That's how I think he did. Like for real.
When they didn't even have no Pan-African flag in their march. They didn't have no Pan-African flag in their march.
They didn't explain nothing.
Because they don't even understand, and a lot of our people don't even know what it means either. They don't know the origin. And the thing is,
hey, I'm be quiet, but there's people out there with kente cloths on, like doing this. I'm like,
you don't even know what that means. You don't even know what kente means. A lot of people don't understand kente colors all have different meanings. You don't just throw any kind of cloth on unless you know what it means. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But with the RGB colors, to me, because that's something that matters to me. Pan-Africanism is important to me, right? Because I always identify as an African. Yes, I'm Haitian by way of Africa. You see what I'm saying? But so for them to paint that on the floor also bothered me in a way, because it's on the ground. People are gonna walk over it. People are gonna spit on it. People are gonna throw cars and it's gonna land on it. Because when they build their murals, it's posted up. You know what I'm saying?
How many American flags do you see on the ground? How many American flags have you seen them paint on the ground?
Ooh, y'all hitting right now, boy.
Go ahead and name one, big bro. Name one. Every time we paint a mural, not even that. Let's just go forward to the LGBT community. You don't never see it on the ground. It's always faced up.
Right.
Yeah, they got that thing on the water fountain, right? That's what they got. The water fountains and the sky things, the Dr. Phillips change and everything.
Right. And you know, if you know the origins of the RGB, there was a popular song back in the 1900s up to the 1920s. It was called "Every Race Have a Flag But the Coon."
But the Coon.
If you can pull that up, production, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Pull that up for me, please.
So when Marcus,
I didn't even know that.
When Marcus Garvey came to the America, mind you, this was like a top 10, you know, like a Cardi B, Beyonce type of track. Everybody was in it. You know what I mean?
This was like that nigga love watermelon. I mean, you know that.
Yeah. I'm gonna get to that too in the later shows, right? Yeah, man. So when Marcus Garvey came to the Americas, mind you, he was trying to link up with another revolutionary activist, right? And he heard that song on the radio. It almost brought him to tears, and that's why he created that flag. You know, red for the blood of the people that was spilled. Black for the people who've oppressed, and green for the motherland. You know what I'm saying? So for them to put that on the floor, for one, and not know what it means, you know, and just doing it as some token, as some reward, as some hey, we're in solidarity with you. I that's why I said I had mixed feelings, because maybe it could lead to a lot of people saying, why that color, and they'll research it and they'll find out. But
and that definitely, man, again, it goes back to our responsibility of educating, you know, educating the, you know, the people. I had a great education session today with a young kid about 4th of July. And it blew his mind. He was just like, what? That's crazy. You know? But I let him come up with the conclusion. I let him come up with the conclusion of, hey, this is why this shift is going on in regards to 4th of July. And I gave him the year, and gave him the year of the emancipation. And I let him come up with the conclusion.
Right.
And he came up with the conclusion himself. So it goes back to that education, and even our people, you know what I'm saying? Rocking that red, black, and green. We love it. But like you said, we do need to know what it's about. So it is a sacred thing. I think I never thought about that, bro. And I think this is the reason these platforms are so needed, because I that didn't even cross my mind in regards to how deep you got to it, because it is a sacred thing. Like,
but, you know, symbolism is everything, right? Like if you think about it, right? Here's one thing that kind of eludes people's minds. And we talked about this, Twan, right? When we were talking about the statues, right? You could remove the statues, but yet it's still in your curriculums in the school. But see, it was interesting in how they placed their statues, right? They put it in front of civic centers. They put it in the parks. They put it in front of the hospitals. They put it in front of the courthouses. Why is that? To let you know that before you enter this building, you better know that you're entering a system of white supremacy. That this is a white supremacist stronghold. That's why they put Robert E. Lee and all these other Confederate people that they idolize in front of these buildings. So you may remove the statues, but nonetheless, the system is still in place. That's just a little chink in the armor. They're not worried about.
The foundation is still there. The foundation.
Right. The institution. You know what I'm saying? The infrastructure is still there.
You can do all you want to, but we can still rebuild. We can still replant. We can still do whatever we want.
You have to infiltrate the system. And when we say the system, I want people to understand what we're talking about. I like to call it fragility. I don't think it's nothing supreme about oppressing the people that you're scared of. So I call it fragility, because the system is only created to keep one being on top, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they ain't even been a white woman president. Like, damn, bro, you want the whole thing? Like, you just want to get the whole thing to yourself, dog? Like, you don't even want to get your lady nothing? Like, you know, the white woman ain't been able to vote in this country since 1912. I mean, only since 1912. Like, huh? Like, you can't even give her no love? So, you know, I think that we have to, you know, acknowledge that, and we have to attack that, man. And these schools, you know, going after renaming these schools. You know what I'm saying? You don't have no black children walking to no Robert E. Lee. You know what I'm saying? Walking to no Maynard Evans. And I know that in the past, the Evans attempt has been changed. But again, it goes back to these things and understanding the mindset, man, and realizing like, damn, we was going to that all along. You know what I mean? And you talk about energies and spirit, and you know, you want to talk about energy, you put that kind of energy on some kids that already coming from that's a deeper thing. Yeah. Put our crystals in the moon. Put our crystals in the moon.
Hello.
What say you, MJ? Go ahead, man, because we got to get the queen.
Yes, queen.
Yeah, we can close out with the queen. We can close out with the queen.
I'm just messing with you.
What?
I've really just been listening because I love hearing y'all speak. When I said I love y'all, I meant that. I don't know any of y'all, but I know enough to know that I love you. And I've really just been enjoying listening to you all speak. And this is beautiful for me. This is kind of emotional to be able to just sit on a platform and listen to Black men speak. This is beautiful to me. And then for you all to even want to hear me speak and value anything that I'm saying is like mind blowing. Because again, you have to remember, like I said,
I just want to
this background. I don't want to get emotional right now. So go ahead, Cedric.
Hey man, this is transparency, but I appreciate your vulnerability. My heart, you know how Power of Two is wrenching right now, but I just want Power of Two. I just want to share this image, what is so powerful to me on what we're speaking about. And you know what Twan said earlier, it just painted a visual, but I'm a visual person and I just want to share it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it up. This is moments after Twan spoke at City Hall, and can y'all see it?
Yes.
Y'all there?
Yeah.
As you can see, I got that red line in there. That's where we were at. We came from City Hall, which was, you know, on the other side of Amway a bit. But you know, when I had arrived on the scene, he was already speaking. I couldn't hear what he was saying from where I was, but it was just like we were waiting for that day and that moment. And it would have been nice to hear what he was saying. Like it felt like a Martin Luther King moment. And so having him, you know, come into my network and like just knowing that even though we were like a mile away from him, not being able to hear him, this was what was going on. And then for the masses to just kind of start moving, you know, after the speaking, it was just like so powerful just to hear. Like he would lead a chant, and then like you kind of hear like the movies that have like war, just like that, when the crowd goes wild kind of chant like Black Lives Matter, and it was just like, wow, like it just does something to you. And so then like we start marching, and we go all the way through the city, and it's just like the line is never ending, but you're so small in the moment that you don't realize the magnitude until you have to see it from a helicopter. And for that all to be playing out, and I went live on Facebook. This is before we had the network, and it was just kind of like, this is what we at, this is what we got. And we made it back to City Hall, and we pulled off to the side because we weren't going to do another lap, but it was just like the masses of people that just kept walking past us. It was just like, yo, this is Orlando right here. Like, this is I don't know what. Let me look again. It was that Channel 9. They showing this, but it's no audio, so you could probably hear it from the helicopter, like not really giving you the whole thing. But it was just like we lose sight of that, and it's like, what did you expect when you go out to watch the mural be painted, for that to look the same? And like it didn't. Like the fact that like 6, maybe less, youth groups were painting that thing. They were only working on like Black Lives, and Matter was like all the way down the street, not touched. And it was just kind of like, wow, like,
doesn't that show you the magnitude though? Like,
what'd you say?
Doesn't that show you the magnitude of like how when
absolutely
when Miles and Antoine were speaking? That's the reason why. Because when you take away the voices, like you guys have to understand. And I'm so glad that we do have Miles on the show, and we got Twan on the show. Miles,
absolutely.
While I do have you here, brother, I know me and you are always kind of like running into each other like momentaneously. I think last time we saw each other was when I came out there with my Haitian brothers. We was doing the dancing.
Turned it up.
That boy brought the rain that day.
Leaning
against that car, he was tired. The ancestors carried him.
The very first day at George Floyd's house, I ran to him at George Floyd's house, and I've been wanting to get you on the show a lot, man. I've been watching everything that you do. You know what I mean? Before I even get into what I was about to say, man, definitely big. Like I told Jay, like I told Twan, big thank you, man. From a young black man, you know what I mean? From a young black man in the community, from a young youth. I am part of that youth. I am part of the what they'll call it, millennials or whatever you want to call it. Thank you. For taking away. Thank you for setting such a strong example. You know what I mean? And thank you for just keeping us in line and keeping us on where we need to go, because I know we still have a lot of work to do, right? But moving forward, though, now that I do have you here, let me just say, like I always tell a lot of people, we need that leadership now. So when you were speaking on the instance of when you were saying that when you have something like that, like the Black Lives mural being painted, and it's not as much people, it's because our leaders are not there. And I'm so glad that it's happening like that, is because now at least the city can see that we have some type of organization. Because if they feel like they can just say, you know what, we're gonna paint a mural, and they think everybody up right behind them, it's keep it do, you got us down, oh, Black Lives Matter, we're just gonna go ahead right behind you and just do it. No, it's not like that. All right, we're a militant group. We move militantly, okay? We only move, we move when it's a cause. We want to see things done. You know what I mean? So if things are being set up, if it's going to be protests that are being set up, please don't understand that you're going to be able to put a carrot in front of our heads and dangle it, and then we're going to chase it. It's not like to happen like that no more. And that's a big no-no. You know what I'm saying? We're not like that. We don't dangle it. We want change. All right, we want things to be implemented. We got certain Miles. You can let us know who we got. I know you support my man who's going to the school board. So I want you to speak on that, so we can make sure that our people are out there voting. You know what I mean? I know it's different things that we need change. We need to speak on that, and those are the things we need to protest for. Once we get some of those things accomplished, instead of painting our flag on the ground, we're gonna make a big mural of it somewhere downtown, and we're gonna find our own space to say, you know what, we're doing this because this got accomplished.
And Miles, if you can think about what's going on Saturday too, to his question.
Yeah.
And right before he gets into that, to prepare for this Saturday too, this is what we want Orlando Strong Broadcast Network to be. All those people in that picture I just showed y'all missed a lot of information that Twan could have gave to them. So if you're listening, we got 23 people on Facebook. Don't know how many we got on YouTube right now. This is the culture that we want to have for protests, because I had heard early on that Black people are not organized. Like they want to pinpoint a leader. And I created Orlando Strong because I wanted everybody to be a leader. I wanted nobody, the Hydra, you strike one of us down and 18 more of us appear. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not gonna, that my first day out there, the officer came up to me. It was like 40 of us out there. If you read the Orlando Strong Manifest, like, the officer came up to me. He said, who's in charge here? And I told him, I was like, bro, that's what you came over here to say to us? Not, hey, can I stand with you? Can I protest with you? I said, bro, we're all the leader. And then I feel like I became something new. Like I rose from the ashes and I was just black as hell and mad as hell. But it was just like, you tried it. And so like, Bombay, like, don't, bro, don't. We came through the portals. And so it was like, we're all leaders, bro. And so I need Orlando Strong to know this. If you are here right now, you are Orlando Strong. If you are out there with us this weekend, we are going to be streaming Twan and Miles and whoever else is going to be speaking. As long as we're speaking light and love and unity. If you are out there, pull your phone out, pull up Orlando Strong, and make sure the people around you can hear the message that is going to be broadcast. It might be delayed a little bit, but we want to make sure y'all get this information. So this is my challenge to y'all. I'm going to be out there with the whammy. I got my new speaker, so we're going to be broadcasting on top of production. Stay with it.
Yeah.
So this flyer is for this weekend. And go ahead,
yeah,
Miles.
and like. No problem, brother, and I appreciate y'all. And like one thing I tell you, like one thing that you hit on real hard, a lot of people like to give us two things I say before I get into the blackout. A lot of people like to give us credit or solutions or like congratulations to me a lot for what we do. But honestly, when we look around, I know for myself, when I look around, I still see work needing to be done. I don't see a need for us to be patting anybody on the back. I don't see I feel like we're in an era where we get a lot of participation trophies. And just because a lot of us have been trying, people have been dubbed as leaders because they've been out here for so long trying. And there's nothing wrong with leading, right? And there's nothing wrong with trying. But at the end of the day, trying the same thing over and over is like what they say is insanity. So when we're doing this and we're trying to do stuff, like, I don't think it's a time for us to be saying somebody's a leader because they got this, that, and that done, because guess what? It's still more work to be done. So like, it's important you said it, because I don't feel like power is because they want to talk to me. I think power is if like we had one shirt, one brand, one thing that when they saw that, they knew, damn, I can't mess with this brand because they all on point. When they seen the Black Panther, they didn't know what a Black Panther, who they was or what their ranking was, but they knew I wasn't going to mess with a Black Panther because they're organized. And I feel like that's the kind of power that we're missing. You know what I'm saying? And when we talk about what's going on this weekend, we got multiple groups meeting up at Lake Eola. It's going to be multiple groups who hold space, but we're doing the July 4th blackout. Like, we're not trying to be temporary. We've done marches before 4 years ago with thousands of people. We've done marches yearly. We've done this over and over. What's different this time is we want to keep the pressure going until we make some real changes. This ain't no protest because somebody got killed to go home. This is protest until some stuff changes. Keeping it going. Keeping it going. And one thing I want to say, like we know protest is superficial at the core of what it is because it's on the outside. But what protest does, what it symbolizes is that people are coming together, that it's people that have their own brain, that individually make a choice to come out and be a collective. That's what we get scared of. Because individually you make somebody powerless, but as a collective, you can't stop the collective. You can kill one, but other people will still have the same thoughts and processes. And that's what they're really fearing. So we have to keep pressure going, showing that this is not just a temporary thing. This ain't because there was a new hashtag. This is because that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Mm-hmm. And y'all did pandemic. Y'all did all this stuff with playing with the economy. And now what it's come to is this boiling point that we're at, that, yeah, people are risking their stuff by going out during the pandemic, but with social distancing, we're bringing masks. And we're talking about real action plans. Like, people have released action plans. They have released steps that the city could take. They also have released steps that we could take, because I'm a firm advocate of we can't wait for the people in power to fix it for us. Like if we vote them in and they don't take part, then we wait 2 to 4 years and just complain. Nah, we got to come build together. We got to come up with our own resources. They won't fund us. Let's do our own group economics. They won't patrol our streets. Let's get our own community police. They won't keep themselves accountable. Let's find out ways to put pressure on them to keep them accountable. So I think it's all about reinventing the wheel. Like people say, don't reinvent the wheel. But with activism, you got to reinvent the wheel without taking away the momentum that the first wheel had. But you can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. That's why I'm glad there's a whole bunch of groups coming together. We'll be at July 4th, Blackout at Lake Eola. We'll be meeting at 4 p.m. We'll also be doing a walk. On this walk, we're not just being loud and rowdy. We're talking about the systemic issues that are taking place right here in Orlando and Orange County. And Twan, he's been a big part of this movement because people come out not knowing what they're doing, not knowing what's the move, what's the next step. But people got to see that there are some people who have next steps, who have some guides for them. So, if you're watching this right now, stay up to date with Orlando Strong. Like I plan to keep us connected so that we can be Orlando Strong and we can be in the mix together.
Absolutely, my guy, man. So yeah, Saturday, Miss Lawana Gelzer, Miles Moran Jr. I will be co-emceeing with my man Vince Taylor, and continuing to bring the energy. I think before I hand it off to whoever's going to close it out, one thing that I've been learning in these last 3 or 4 years, working with Miles and me and Wise doing things and other things like that, is finding your role. There's a lot of people in my life that'll be like, oh man, you're a civil rights activist. And I'm like, huh? You know what I mean? Because I know I know people that's in rooms and you know what I mean? But I think it's finding your role and understanding your role and accepting your role, right? And you can clarify things up for individuals and individual conversations. Say, hey, yeah, bro, this is really what, I do type of thing, which is one of the reasons I wanted to come on tonight and let, people know that. But I think finding your role is important, and whatever, you're good at, a lot of people aren't good at speaking. A lot of people may not be good, but they're good at organizing, or they're good at writing out plans. And so I think Miles, Cha-Cha, Miss Lawana, Jay Wise, Orlando Strong Network, I thank you guys for, helping me find my role in that and helping to continue to help me mold, my role. And, Miles, I'll be trying to be right there with him side by side. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you, bro, for being like a
good-natured person.
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. And I also want to say I appreciate people like you, Twan, and I also appreciate people like Jay Wise, right? Because there's a lot of people behind the scenes that don't get a lot of recognition because they choose to be more behind the scenes, and they are as a part of this movement. So I like to tell people hey man, I ain't nothing. It's just the tip of the iceberg. Just understand how deep the iceberg goes.
Yeah. And people like Miles and Lawana and Twan and everyone who's on the front lines and behind the lines. But Lawana and Miles need to be protected, seriously, on some, we'll have talks behind the scenes, but it's important that, we go to bat for them and we protect them as well. I'm a very observant person. You know what? I'll keep that for behind the scenes. We'll talk about it. Got to be very observant and very careful of the people who's out there who seem like they're on the front lines. But look, a lot of people will kind of elevate you to leadership roles because of how well you guys kind of articulate how the community, how the masses is feeling. So I really appreciate the work that you guys are doing. I know we've been at it together for a long time. We had disagreements, but we were able to create our own little tribunal and kind of work things through, behind closed doors. But I'll go to war for you guys. You know what I mean? So I appreciate the work y'all been doing.
Appreciate all y'all, man. MJ, I want to give you a shout out.
I got some Haitians way deep in the mountains in Haiti. They doing all types of damage.
I want to give shout out.
You just tell me the word, cuz, and I got, hey, we ready.
But I want to give shout out, man, for lending yourself to this platform. I'm definitely looking to have more conversations in regards to the rebuilding of the black man and black woman relationship. And one of the things I want to say, going back to what you said earlier, I think when I don't know, Wise, if you remember this, when I wrote out the 5 steps to rebrand the black community, the first step was re-implementing the father back in the home, and that image of the father back being in the home. And that's where it starts, with the protection and things of that sort. Like my son Autumn, he has that because I tell him, don't hit your sisters, protect your sisters, this, that. I mean, he go in the door first, I'm slapping him in the head. But it's those principles. A brother told me the best thing that a black man can do is raise a family to the best of his ability and make sure that they are in the world as responsible citizens, and if each black man does that with each black family, the rebuilding of our nation happens sooner than later. So I just wanted to commend you for coming on the platform, hopefully a mainstay, you know what I mean, to where we can get into those real conversations that us men may have amongst each other, and we know damn well it need a female energy. You know what I'm saying? And the same with women conversations, right? And I think it's important that this is how we bridge the gap from say his name to say her name to it being, this shit is wrong. We out here for everybody,
right?
So we don't have to have separate rallies. Like, oh, and by the way, right? Our black women can't. Oh, by the way, you know what I'm saying? They can't be an oh, by the way. So I just want to shout you out and tell you thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Please, if you all moving forward, invite me, if not me, another black.
I got you. Your
sisters, your friends, your whomever we are to you in mind, because I know when I am seeking out opportunities, I'm always thinking of the black men in my life that I can put in those positions, I can help get in those positions. Anytime I see a job listing and I know I have Cedric that has a background in the many hats that he wears, I'm sending him that link. When I'm creating, first. And when there are conversations that I know that there are men who are going to bring something to the table, I'm thinking of them, I'm sending it to them, I'm inviting them. That would go back to John, when you asked me what are some ways that black men can help black women. That would be one of them, is keeping us in mind at all times, and looking out for us in those aspects as well. I wanted to also let you all know that as of yesterday, my website went live.
Can you type that somewhere, and we can get production to blast that? You got a long name. So we definitely plugging black business.
Well, Cedric, you know my name. I don't know. I have a watch party up.
Oh, you right. Okay, I got you. It's in my favorites. Give me a second.
But MarissaJWhite.com. On July 15th, I'll be announcing what I am doing with that. So that's kind of been.
Ain't told nobody.
Yeah.
So don't think she gonna do it for Let Us Show right now.
I know some of my folks are on here watching, and I know they're like, yeah, bro, you've been keeping that on the low for a minute. But like you were saying, Antoine, get in where you fit in. When you can. Anything that you can do to give back to our community or invest in our community, find your way and do that. For me,
I give my voice.
For me, July 15th is a fraction of what I plan on doing for my part in my community and using my voice as a black woman. In addition to that, I want to say Black lives still matter. Black lives will matter today, tomorrow, yesterday, moving forward. And I say all Black lives matter. While we still have people in here watching, all Black lives matter. Black men, Black women, Black trans, Black queer, Black people who are disabled, all Black lives matter. And I still need justice for Breonna Taylor. That's all I'm going to say.
That part. And that's on Harriet Tubman.
For the avid book readers, based off what the sister was saying,
drop one on us.
Not gonna pull it out though, but Shahrazad Ali has a book called The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. So I recommend that brothers read that book, man. It's solid.
Just if any MJ Queen fans are in the chat, I'm having the hardest time pulling this up to get it right. If y'all could put that link in there, production will put it up. But we're on the stream, so our phone is like taking up all the stream is taking up all our bandwidth. If y'all could please put her her site up there.
That's Alex's job. He should be in the chat. Right?
I can't open no links. Okay, you should have as soon as you said it. Go ahead. Jay Wise, were you about to say something?
Yeah. I was just saying I was recommending that brothers read that book, Shahrazad Ali, The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. She deals with a lot of things from slavery to when you're getting your head cracked at work and taking your frustrations out on your woman at home, how that's not right, and making you understand psychologically where your dysfunctions are at, and how to better yourself.
There we are. Thank you, Matthew. Another wonderful influencer.
Oh yeah, one more thing too, because yes. I was seeing the video that Brian shared with the commissioners, and it's so I don't know why. I don't know if y'all feel that way, but I think differently, right? I was getting irritated when they were invoking the name of MLK. Every time they was going up there, in the words of MLK. But I feel that you should stop invoking the name of MLK if you aren't doing MLK type work. If you aren't going against the grain like MLK was, staring down the devil in his eye and challenging him like MLK was. Stop invoking his name because you're not really out here doing what he was doing. You know what I mean? But you love to bring him up. You love to bring up the dream state of MLK, but tend to forget about the 1966, 1967 MLK when he was speaking about the nightmare. You know what I mean? So that's just one thing I wanted to add.
Yeah, you can put it right there.
Word life. So I'll do a shameless plug. Well, not shameless plug.
You know, shame.
No.
Black.
I'm not going to do that because
your plugs matter.
Yeah, I feel that those that friend requested me off of this will see what I do off of this, and that's how we'll do it. So yeah, just follow your boy, and from there education. I'll promote
research. You do the work. Google is free, and so is these keys on this keyboard.
Do your Google. Do your Google.
Free. Say it with your chest. Don't let them know. There's too much information to shut them down. Hey, the FBI listening right now. One time for the one time. Can we just look at my queen? If you log in from your phone, she got cookies enabled. Hold on, accept the cookies.
Whole catfish. Don't show them.
That's not what she looked like.
Take them off the website.
Come on, website. Y'all better. I know y'all knows y'all don't know what that information gonna be. Make sure you smash that bookmark button. All right, Brad. Let's get out of here, man. Hey, pop up on the screen. Let people show your face. Take mine off and put yours up there. The man behind the magic.
The Oz.
There it is, right there. Actually, I think I can.
Can you feel?
We had 10 people.
Oh, so you could have put all of us up here the whole time and you didn't want to be up here? Oh, so you could have been up here the whole time.
I'm afraid I would have been.
Turn your lamp down.
But no,
Turn
just
your lamp
Shout
down.
out to
I can't see
Brian.
your
I wanted to
forehead.
say this earlier. Shout out to Brian with the Bob Ross background.
you like
Yes.
It's production. It's
Come on,
production.
Dark Water.
It's
It ain't production no more. He's on the screen now.
MJ, that's the Springs we was at, right? It's
Only
that's
production.
legit.
He's not on the screen.
Well, I just want to tell all of you, just like with MJ, I can sit here and listen to you guys talk all night because the passion
We appreciate you, bro.
and what you guys
And
are.
like our allies are hungry, and I want y'all to see that, please. Like, Google is free, but so is this.
Yep.
And so Brian has set this up. Let me read his Orlando Strong broadcast. Because I wanted him to say it, but I want to do the work for you, bro. Because you out here working with us. The reason this platform was created is because we understand the real images of the world in 2020 live on digital mediums, not on for-profit news stations, local and national. The narrative is what we are speaking, not the story that a news station tries to squeeze in 90 seconds. Never again. You ain't gotta log on to BET.com. You ain't gotta buy the subscription. This is Black News Now.
18
Period.
Brian,
and I've
Just making
manipulated audio
sure.
too. I mean, in the vein of comedy, but I've manipulated audio too, and I get the clip that I want here and there. John, I taught you a lot about
Yeah.
that. I taught you at CSB, when you're putting something together. But the point is right now that this is bigger than what you're seeing on TV. The reason I think it's as big is because we watched George get murdered on our phones, not on our televisions, on our phones. It's right in our face. And we've been seeing it for a while on our face. This is where the youth lives. This is where the movement lives. And this is where you're going to always get directly what's happening in our community in Orlando, because before we can save the rest of the world, we got to save our backyard. And with the 6 individuals that are on the screen right now with me, and the strong, the strong personalities that you have, and the strong, just everything that you're doing right now to be able to move this forward. It's an honor to help you guys, but it's all about you, and it's all about lifting your voices. And I could listen to you talk all day. And MJ, I hope you come on. I hope we can maybe create something weekly for you to do, because I think that, I think everybody has a voice that they want to share, and they want to lift, and they want to show that we're moving forward. We're in the 21st century right now. The things that happened in the 20th century, we're going to leave them there. We're only going to remember them to move past them. And
appreciate it, man.
It's an honor to be here with all you guys.
I appreciate y'all,
Just gonna
fellas and ladies tonight.
Y'all get the 2 fists. Run that out, yo, Brian. Come on, production.
All right, here we go.
I'm good. I appreciate